ओम परतत्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्ण समाज्ञया यो धर्म स्थापन रतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम्. We have been studying Swami Vivekananda's Bhakti Yoga, and the first part dealing with Bhakti in general was completed, and in the second part we have gone through 3 or 4 chapters. The first was preparatory renunciation, the next was Bhakta's renunciation results from love, and the third was naturalness of Bhakti Yoga and its central secret. Now we are today taking up chapter 4 and maybe 5 also. And that day I told you, those who want to write down, please write down. These 2 chapters are based upon one particular sutra from the Shandilya Bhakti Sutra. Just as we have a standard Narad Bhakti Sutra, there is another book equally authoritative, though from a little different angle, and that is Shandilya Bhakti Sutra. And in the Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, in the second chapter, first section, Sutra number 44. Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, second chapter, first section, Sutra number 44. Those who want to write down, may please write down this sutra. I am dictating now, word by word. Sammana, Bahumana, Priti, Viraha, Itara Vichikitsa, Tadiyata. This is in chapter 4 and continues in chapter 5. Sarva Tadbhava. And in the 5th chapter, the last one is Apratikulya. That is what Shandilya has told. Apratikulyadini Smarane Bahulya. So, this is the mentioned in the Shandilya Bhakti Sutra. Now this is a sequence, a series. That means it is a orderly sequence. First this, then this, then this, then this, then this, like that. And it culminates in a Pratikulya. So now let us see how Swamiji has dealt with. Now the first 2 Swamiji has made into one. All others he has described as described by Shandilya. Samman and Bahuman he has combined. Samman means respect. Bahuman means very much respect. That means the first feeling about Bhakti, though in a preliminary form, right from preliminary to the last Shandilya is describing the stages of the growth of Bhakti in the mind of the sadhak, Bhakta sadhak, Bhakti yogi. So first is, he feels that God is something great. Reverence about God. And this reverence comes from a feeling of love only, though the manifestation is reverence. And the second Bahumana, which Swamiji has not taken or combined with Mana, Sammana, is that God is the greatest thing. That is the Bahumana. God is something great, so reverence comes, and then the feeling comes that there is nothing like God. God is the greatest. So that is Bahumana. Then comes Preeti. Preeti means love. But Swamiji has beautifully told us, Preeti means pleasure comes when we think of God. When we think of God, a pleasure comes. Let us see now what Swamiji has said. We will go step by step. The forms of love manifestation. Love is there. How it manifests, that is being told orderly. Here are some of the forms in which love manifests itself. Some of the forms, because the various stages of the mind are there, but the prominent one, perhaps this combination of the first two, Swamiji has told some of the forms. So, the more important passages in the life of Bhakti Yogi is being described. First, there is reverence. Why do people show reverence to temples and holy places? Because he is worshipped there. And his presence is associated with all such places. So this reverence about God comes about reverence about everything associated with God. And that is what Swamiji has described. Why do people in every country pay reverence to teachers of religion? That is also a form of reverence to God, that he is teaching me about God. So, God is appearing to me through him, the knowledge of God or the love of God. So, I have to revere my Guru. It is natural for the human heart to do so, because all such teachers preach the Lord. So that is the association. At bottom, reverence is a growth out of love. None of us revere him whom we do not love. So, the base of reverence is love, that is what Swamiji has shown. Then comes Preeti. So, Samman and Bhavan included. Then comes Preeti. Swamiji says pleasure in God. Beautiful psychological expression. Though normally Preeti means love, Swamiji says how to understand pleasure in God. Now Swamiji compares with the ordinary man, then only we understand a thing by comparison. What an immense pleasure men take in the objects of the senses, ordinary men. They go anywhere, run through any danger to get the thing which they love, the thing which their senses like, that is the love. Their senses like a thing, that becomes love in them. There is no respect for those things. Only I want them. What is wanted of the Bhakta is this very kind of intense love. So now it comes to intense love, which has, however, to be directed to God. So God-directed intense love is this Preeti. Then what is the next step? When we are far away from a thing, we do not feel. But when we are comparatively near, we feel we are far away. This is the psychology. Actually, when we do not think of God, we do not feel anything. We may respect God and the teachers and temples that much. But when the love grows, then we feel we are too much distance from God. So, that name is Viraha. Swamiji has translated it telling, then there is the sweetest of pains, Viraha. Viraha is not all crying. Outside it may be crying. But Swamiji said it is the sweetest pain. Sweet means it is giving joy. The praying, the shouting, the clinging, the crying, within if you dip, you will find that there is a pleasure. There is happiness. So, psychologically, it appears that we are at a great distance, and so viraha comes, the intense misery due to the absence of the beloved. When a man feels the tense intense misery because he has not attained to God, has not known that which is the only thing worthy to be known, and becomes in consequence very dissatisfied and almost mad. Then there is viraha. And this state of the mind makes him feel. It is the next step now. It is the next step. So this viraha comes, and then what happens? How to understand this viraha? And this state of mind makes him feel disturbed in the presence of anything other than the beloved. I have given you the name Itara Vichikitsa. Swamiji has given the name, not down, alternate there, Ekarati Vichikitsa. Ekarati, one-pointed love towards God, because of that, not liking other things. Then only we know that we are viraha from God. If viraha from God and we are enjoying this and that and that and that, then the viraha has not grown at all. So the next is Itara Vichikitsa, or as Swamiji has given, Ekarati Vichikitsa. In earthly love we see how often this viraha comes. Again, when men are really, both he is explaining viraha and then next. Again, when men are really and intensely in love with women or woman with men, that is the acutest love. So that is the best to describe. They feel a kind of natural annoyance in the presence of all those whom they do not love. Natural annoyance. Exactly the same state of impatience in regard to things that are not loved comes to the mind when Parabhakti holds sway over it. So Parabhakti has held it, so we have viraha, and then we are getting this Itara Vichikitsa or Ekarati Vichikitsa. Even to talk about things other than God becomes distasteful then. Even to talk about God, things about other than God becomes distasteful to them. Think of Him alone, and give up all other vain words. This from Mundaka Upanishad, Tameva Ekham Janatha Atmanam Anya Vacho Vimunjatha. Others are only talk, don't think of them. Those who talk of Him alone, the Bhakta finds to be friendly to him. So that is how it works. While those who talk of anything else appear to him to be unfriendly. So this is that Itara Vichikitsa. A still higher stage of love, so next. Next is Tadiyata. Tadiyata means I belong to him. I do not belong to anybody, anything of this world. I do not belong to anything of this world. I do not belong to anybody in this world. I belong to God. That is the highest stage of bhakti almost. After that, fulfillment is shown in the next chapter. So here the last is Tadiyata. It's a great thing. I do not belong to the family. I do not belong to my office. I do not belong to anybody because of his money. I belong to God. God will do with me as He likes because I belong to Him. So this is the high attitude of bhakti. So Swamiji is telling a still higher stage of love is reached when life itself is maintained. Oh, I missed a point, please. I correct myself. In the original sutra which I told, I missed a point, please. So this is not Tadiyata. Oh, sorry, please, sorry. I missed a vital point. Please revise the sutra. Sammana, Bahumana, Priti, Viraha, ekrati vichikitsa or itara vichikitsa, and then comes tadartha prana sansthan. A very important point I missed, tadartha prana sansthan. And then comes tadiyata. So between this vichikitsa and tadiyata, please insert tadartha prana sansthan from Shandilya Bhakti Sutra. Why you live? Because I love you. That is the tadartha prana sansthan. There is no other purpose in life. The only purpose in life is to love him. For that sake only I am living. See what wonderful transformation has taken place. A man starts loving God and then he feels sweetest of pains and then he does not want anything else. Then for God's sake only I am living. So that is a very high point. Tadartha prana sansthan. The belonging comes to in the next point. So tadartha prana sansthan, a still higher stage of love is reached when life itself is maintained for the sake of the one ideal of love. When life itself is considered beautiful and worth living only on account of that love. That is tadartha prana sansthan. Without it, such a life would not remain even for a moment. Life is sweet because it thinks of the beloved. So this is the psychological transformation, the growth of bhakti leads man to this. Then next, tadiyata, hisness, comes when a man becomes perfect according to bhakti. So Swamiji has said that this is the purnatva. Another two are the automatic results of that purnatva. We shall see them in the next chapter. But this Swamiji is telling after tadartha prana sansthan, tadiyata comes when a man becomes perfect according to bhakti. When he has become blessed, when he has attained God, when he has touched the feet of God as it were, then his whole nature is purified and completely changed. So inside there is a total change. All his purpose in life then becomes fulfilled. Yet many such bhaktas live on just to worship him. That is the bliss, the only pleasure in life which they will not give up. O king, this is from Bhagavatam, O king, such is the blessed quality of Hari that even those who have become satisfied with everything, all the knots of whose hearts have been cut asunder, even they love the Lord for love's sake. Those who want may take down the shloka I am telling now. Atma Ramascha Munayoho. Atma Ramascha Munayoho. Nirgrantha Apyurukrame. Nirgrantha Apyurukrame. Kurvanti Haitukim Bhaktim. Kurvantya Haitukim Bhaktim, that is Kurvanti Haitukim Bhaktim. Kurvantya Haitukim Bhaktim. Itham Bhuta Guno Harihi. Itham Bhuta Guno Harihi, that is the shloka. And the translation as Swamiji has given, that people are there, the perfected people, Atma Rama, they are satisfied by their self. They find their self is God only. Nirgrantha, that means no knots in their heart, no knot of ignorance or wrong knowledge or complexes. They have become perfect. Happy, even such people, Urukrame is the name of Vishnu, they love Vishnu because Itham Bhuta Guna Hari, that is because of the very qualities of Hari. Hari has such qualities that even these people love Hari without any motive. They do not want anything from him. But the qualities of Hari are such that these people also love Hari. Whom all the gods worship, all the lovers of liberation and all the knowers of Brahman. This is from Nrisinga Purvatapani Upanishad. Swamiji has quoted. Yam sarve, it has been written in the book, you can take up. Yam sarve deva namanti mumukshavoho brahmavadinascha iti. Gods worship him, those who seek liberation worship him, and those who are realized Brahman also worship him. That are his qualities. Such is the power of love. When a man has forgotten himself altogether and does not feel that anything belongs to him, then he acquires the state of tadiyata. This belonging, Swamiji has put both ways. I do not belong to anybody, I belong to God, I told you. Nothing belongs to me. Everything belongs to God. So this is the other side. I belong to God, everything belongs to God. That is tadiyata. And does not feel that anything belongs to him, then he acquires the state of tadiyata. Everything is sacred to him because it belongs to the beloved. So that is the other automatic side of tadiyata. Even in regard to earthly love, the lover thinks that everything belonging to his beloved is sacred and so dear to him. He loves even a piece of cloth belonging to the darling of his heart. In the same way, this is example. In the same way, when a person loves the Lord, the whole universe becomes dear to him because it is all his. That is tadiyata. He loves the world because the world belongs to God. Now, we are entering the next chapter. Fulfillment has come in a way, but how the personality becomes still transformed due to it. Universal love and how it leads to self-surrender. Swamiji has given this name. Chandila's names are Sarva Tadbhav and Apratikulya. So, universal love. Because everything is his, so universal love. How can we love the Vyashti, the particular, without first loving the Samashti, the universal? Swamiji has put this question. People feel A loves B, but the love of A to B is not possible unless the universal, the common reality is there between them. That we read in one portion. So, the love of Vyashti to Vyashti is possible only because the background of Samashti, the cosmic or the universal. God is the Samashti, the generalized and the abstract universal whole. Generalized and abstract. Abstract means sukshma, universal whole. And the universe that we see is the Vyashti. Because universe contains I, you, he, she, it. In the gross manifested form, we see we are many. So many individuals. But the common background is called universal. To love the whole universe is possible. We see the Vyashti, the particularized thing. To love the whole universe is possible only by way of loving the Samashti. Whole universe means one, everybody. We cannot love like that. But if we love the common Samashti, which is God, then we love everybody. The universal, which is as it were, the one unity in which are to be found millions and millions of smaller entities. So the smaller means particularized entities, and the cosmic or the totality is called the Samashti. Now here, Swamiji has described, this is a point where all yogas reach. Bhakti Yoga might have reached its fulfillment in Tadiyata. But now in the next point, all yogas meet there. That is the point Swamiji is describing. The philosophers of India do not stop at the particulars. They cast a hurried glance at the particulars and immediately start to find the generalized forms which include all the particulars. That is the typical of Indian philosophers, because India is naturally sadhakas. We are not happy with particulars, we want to find the general and the universal. To search after the universal is the one search of Indian philosophy and religion. Philosophy may be more or less intellectual finding, religion is in the experiential world. So, we want to find out the universal always. Which will include all the particulars. The search after the universal is the one search of Indian philosophy and religion. Now he is showing how the yogas reach there. The jnani aims at the wholeness of things as that one absolute and generalized being, knowing which he knows everything. That is the very start of jnana. Knowing which I know everything. That means the common reality. He is not interested in this or this or this, apple tree and mango tree and this and that. He wants to know that, by knowing which everything is known. That is the nature of the jnani. All the Upanishads deal with such things. The bhakta wishes to realize that one generalized abstract person in loving whom he loves the whole universe. So the whole universe he loves because he loves God. And because he finds God is everywhere, so he loves everywhere. So that is the bhakta. The yogi, Rajyogi. The yogi wishes to have possession of that one generalized form of power by controlling which he controls the whole universe. So that is also the dealing with the power, but one power of the universe. The Indian mind throughout the history has been directed to this kind of singular search after the universal in everything. Universal means it is present in everything. In everything means in all the topics, in science, in psychology, in love, in philosophy. The very trend of the Indian mind is like this. In science they wanted to find that element which can generalize, which can be found in different forms in the world. They want to find that energy which manifests in different forms of the world. They want to find that unity which manifests as matter and also as energy. So this is the Indian mind. Psychology, in love and in philosophy. So the conclusion to which the bhakta comes is that if you go on merely loving one person after another, you may go on loving them as so for an infinite length of time without being in the least able to love the world as a whole. After reading Swamiji's books, this impression comes sometimes. A young man approached Swamiji and said, "You have taught like this, na? That we should love everyone as God." Swamiji said, "This foolishness I have not taught. I have taught you to love God, who is in everyone. So, we are not to go loving A person, B person, C person. Some people have this idea. But this is not, you can reach the, Swamiji say, infinite time you can never reach it. But I want you to love Him who is in all. I want you to realize Him who is in all." So, we realize God as one without a second. Automatically we find there is nothing else. God is in all the forms. So this is the way to approach. Otherwise you commit a mistake. If you go on merely loving one person after another, you may go on loving them so far an infinite length of time without being in the least able to love the whole world as a whole. When at last the central idea is, however, arrived at, that the sum total of all love is God, that the sum total of the aspirations of all the souls in the universe, whether they be free or bound or struggling towards liberation, is God. Then alone it becomes possible for anyone to put forth universal love. So universal love does not come by loving brothers, but universal love comes by loving the reality which is common to all. That the sum total of the aspirations of all the souls in the universe, whether they be free or bound or struggling towards liberation, is God. Then alone it becomes possible for anyone to put forth universal love. God is the samashti, the sum total. And the visible universe is God differentiated and made manifest. So in the visible world, that samashti appears as individuals. If we love the sum total, we love everything. Loving the world and doing it good will all come easily then. Doing good to the world comes easily when we see God in the world. We have to obtain this power only by loving God first. That is important. Otherwise, it is no joke to do good to the world. So, Swamiji has given this motto, Atmano Akshartam Jagadhitaya. This Jagata is possible only when we are struggling for Atmano Moksha. Important point of Karma Yoga, Swamiji is discussing here. God first, only by loving God first. Otherwise, it is no joke to do good to the world. Everything is His and He is my lover. I love Him, says the Bhakta. In this way, everything becomes sacred to the Bhakta because all things are His. So it is the spread of that very Tadiyata. All are His children, His body, His manifestation. So in different levels and different forms this grows. Finally, all are His manifestations. How then may we hurt anyone? How then may we not love anyone? With the love of God will come as a sure effect the love of everyone in the universe. The nearer we approach God, the more do we begin to see that all things are in Him. God is in all things and all things are in God. When the soul succeeds in appropriating the bliss of the supreme love, there is bliss in the supreme love. It also begins to see Him in everything. Our heart will then become an eternal fountain of love. And when we reach even higher states of this love, all the little differences between the things of this world are entirely lost. So this is coming from Sarva Tadbhav to the next point of Apratikulya. Nothing is opposite to me. All the little difference between the things of the world are entirely lost. Man is seen no more as man, but only as God. The animal is seen no more as animal, but as God. Even the tiger is no more a tiger, but a manifestation of God. Even means the extreme also is seen in this way. Thus, in this intense state of bhakti, worship is offered to everyone, to every life and to every being. Evam sarveshu bhuteshu bhaktir avyavicharini kartavya panditir jnatva sarva bhutamayam harim. So that is the real scholar, the real Vidwan, who knows this. Knowing that Hari, the Lord, is in every being, the wise have thus to manifest answering love towards all beings. So automatic effect of loving God is that loving all. As a result of this kind of intense, all-absorbing love comes the feeling of perfect self-surrender. The conviction that nothing that happens is against us. Apratikulya. I'm just given the name here. Apratikulya, nobody is pratikul to me. Then the loving soul is able to say, if pain comes, welcome pain. If misery comes, it will say, welcome misery. You are also from the beloved. If a serpent comes, it will say, welcome serpent. If death comes, such a bhakta will welcome it with a smile. Blessed am I that they all come to me. They are all welcome. The bhakta in this state of perfect resignation, arising out of intense love to, so this Swami says self-surrender, resignation, arising out of intense love to God and to all that are His, ceases to distinguish between pleasure and pain insofar as they affect Him. Oh, this is an important thing. Wonderful thing. I'll give an example to understand this. We understand that if somebody else is having pleasure, the man of realization will feel happy looking at him. If somebody is having pain, then the man of realization will get affected for his sake and he will try to remove that. But if pleasure or pain come to the man of realization, he does not consider it. This is a vital point. Let me quote an incident in my Guruji's life. In the beginning of the ashram in Nagpur, 3 rooms were constructed. One room was the shrine. The next room was a bigger hall. And third room was his staying room. His staying, office, library, everything. There might have been another shed with kitchen and all that. Now this middle hall was the students' home and also the prayer hall. 4 Indian cots were in the 4 corners. And when the evening arati time came, the boys would lift those cots, keep them outside. Indian cots can be easily lifted. And that became the prayer hall. This was the situation. Now the first batch of students in 1932 were 2 groups of brothers. One pair of brothers from a what we call the normal middle class family. And the other pair of brothers were orphans. They had nothing with them. These were, all 4 were college students. Now these were living. And in the room, classroom, was my Guruji staying. He had a blanket with him. But in Nagpur winter, in midnight, he felt cold. Please listen to the full story. And the first thought which came to him was, what the boys have. So he entered the hall. And those 2 from the middle class family had their own blankets and they were sleeping nicely. But these 2 orphan boys did not have anything. So the younger one had gone to the elder's cot and they were embracing each other and sleeping just to get some warmth. Now the blanket which Swamiji was having, he put on them. Spent the rest night without any blanket. And in the morning, he went to a house who had promised him that in case of some want, you please come to me, I will give you. So he went to him early morning and said, I have come to beg. He said, what you want? I want 1 blanket. Not for himself, He brought that blanket and called both the boys and said that मेरे क्लास की लग रही 6:30 कितने पैसे बता अब मैं कर दूंगा
इसमें बिल और इसमें बिल का सब चीज़ कार्ड बिल सब चीज़ें ठीक है.
So he gave that blanket to them and said, boys, this sleeping, embracing each other is not hygienic. You should sleep separately. And in the night you got one blanket, I am giving you the other blanket. So you sleep separately. The story is ever over, but questions are plenty. He did not beg a blanket for him. The person who felt cold, though he had a blanket, does not have any blanket now, and he will spend the whole winter. And the first thought came, what the boys have. So can we connect all that and understand exactly what Swamiji is describing in Bhakti Yoga? He felt cold of the boys, not his own cold. If he had felt his own cold, he would have begged a blanket for him. He gave his own blanket, he begged another, and only then he talked to the boys. Did not sermonize without anything. Sleeping, embracing each other may not be good, but if there is no blanket, what they will do? So this type of sermonizing was not there. But he begged and brought another blanket and then told him this and gave them that blanket. Is it not what Swamiji is telling? For his own pleasure or pain he does not feel, but for others' pleasure and pain he feels. Those who want, please take down one shloka in the Sanskrit Subhashitam. A wonderful idea is there. Sajjanasya hridayam navanitam Sajjanasya hridayam navanitam Yad vadanti kavayos tadalikam Yad vadanti kavayo tadalikam Anya deha vilasat paritapat Anya deha vilasat paritapat Sajjano dravati no navanitam Sajjano dravati no navanitam. The poet says that the poets usually compare the heart of a good man with butter. Generally the heart of a good man is compared with butter. We say that it is like butter. But he says, this is wrong, this is false. If heat is applied to butter, it will melt. But if heat is applied to something else, butter will not melt. But if heat is applied to something else, that means somebody is feeling heat or trouble, then the heart of the sajjan will melt. If anya deha vilasat paritapat, if the problems or heat is disturbing in some other body, the heart of the sajjan will melt, not the butter. So in this way, comparatively, another person has put this idea. And I have given you the example in life itself. So here in this sentence, in the soul succeeds in. Where we were? Oh, we have gone through this. Have you read this? Have you missed some sentences, please? एवं सर्वेषु भूतेषु भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी कर्तव्या पंडितेर ज्ञात्वा सर्वभूतमयम् हरिम्. Knowing that Hari the Lord is in every being, the wise have thus to manifest unswerving love towards all beings. And then we are reading this. Yes. We are reading this sentence. We'll read that sentence again. The Bhakta, in this state of perfect resignation, arising out of intense love to God and to all that are His, ceases to distinguish between pleasure and pain in as far as they affect him. That is what we read. And the implication was if pleasure and pain are affecting somebody else, he feels it. And on that point I told you all these things. He does not know what it is to complain of pain or misery. And this kind of uncomplaining resignation to the will of God, who is all love, is indeed a worthier acquisition than all the glory of grand and heroic performances. In the outside world, we see grand and heroic performances, but if this Pratikulya comes, Swamiji says that is the greatest glory. Now, he compares with ordinary men to make us feel these points. To the vast majority of mankind, the body is everything, the body is all the universe to them, bodily enjoyment is there all in all. This demon of the worship of the body and of the things of the body has entered into us all. Swamiji calls it the demon. We may indulge in tall talk and take very high flights, but we are like vultures all the same. Our mind is directed to the piece of carrion down below. Vultures are flying high, but when they see carrion, they swoop upon it. Why should our body be saved, say, from the tiger? Why may we not give it over to the tiger? The tiger will thereby be pleased, and that is not altogether so very far from self-sacrifice and worship. These examples are there. Sardan Swamiji and Turian Swamiji had lost their way in a forest. And Turian Swamiji went elsewhere. And Sardan Swamiji sat there. He thought if a tiger comes, his hunger will be appeased. Understand? Nothing about himself. If a tiger comes, his hunger will be appeased. That means he will eat me. Now it is a different matter that tiger did not come. But this is the attitude, practical life. So whatever Swamiji is telling is not some utopia. It is very practical. The tiger will thereby be pleased, and that is not altogether so very far from self-sacrifice and worship. But this does not come by practice, this comes by the growth of bhakti. Can you reach the realization of such an idea in which all sense of self is completely lost? It is a very dizzy height on the pinnacle of the religion of love, and few in this world have ever climbed up to it. But until a man reaches that highest point of ever ready and ever willing self-sacrifice, he cannot become a perfect bhakta. So the automatic effect of being a perfect bhakta is being described. We may all manage to maintain our bodies more or less satisfactorily and for longer or shorter intervals of time. Nevertheless, our bodies have to go. There is no permanence about them. Blessed are they whose bodies get destroyed in the service of others. Wealth and even life itself, the sage always holds ready for the service of others. In this world, there being one thing certain, namely death, it is far better that this body dies in a good cause than in a bad one. That is the idea. We may drag our life on for 50 years or 100 years, But after that, what is it that happens? Everything that is the result of combination must get dissolved and die. There must and will come a time for it to be decomposed. Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad are all dead. All the great prophets and teachers of the world are dead. In this evanescent world where everything is falling to pieces, we have to make the highest use of what time we have, says the Bhakta. And really, the highest use of life is to hold it at the service of all beings, because they belong to God. It is the horrible body idea that breeds all the selfishness in the world. Just this one delusion that we are wholly the body we own. We are wholly the body which we own, and that we must by all possible means try our very best to preserve and to please it. That is the Asuri Sampatti, demonic culture. If you know that you are positively other than your body, you have then none to fight with or struggle against. You are dead to all ideas of selfishness. So the Bhakti declares that we have to hold ourselves as if we are altogether dead to all the things of the world, and that is indeed self-surrender. Let things come as they may. This is the meaning of thy will be done. Oh, you have come now. Not going about fighting and struggling and thinking all the while that God wills all our own weaknesses and worldly ambitions. We say God's will and do our will and ambition. It may be that good comes even out of our selfish struggles. That is however God's lookout. The perfected Bhakta's idea must be never to will and work for himself. Lord, they build high temples in your name. They make huge, large gifts in your name. I am poor. I have nothing. So I take this body of mine and place it at your feet. Do not give me up, O Lord. Such is the prayer proceeding out of the depths of the Bhakta's heart. So this last point of apratikulya, total surrender, he is describing. To him who has experienced it, this eternal sacrifice of the self unto the beloved Lord is higher by far than all wealth and power that outside, than even all soaring thoughts of renown and enjoyment, the subtler enjoyments. The peace of the Bhakta's calm resignation is a peace that passeth all understanding. So this gives perfect peace, unselfishness, and is of incomparable value. In the Gita, Tyagat Shantir Anantaram. If you give yourself up, next moment you have peace. His apratikulya is a state of the mind in which it has no interest and naturally knows nothing that is opposed to it. That is apratikulya. In the state of sublime resignation, everything in the shape of attachment goes away completely, except that one all-absorbing love to Him, in whom all things live and move and have their being. So, all things are seen only as God's manifestation. This attachment of love to God is indeed one that does not bind the soul, but effectively breaks all its bondages. In the first chapter I had told, one moment of divine madness releases man forever. So it appears you are not bound to a man, you are bound to God. It says this being bound to God removes all bondages. There is no bondage. So in this way today we could read 2 chapters and we could assimilate and understand through the examples quoted by me all the spirit of these 2 chapters. Om Paratatve Sada Lino Ramakrishna Samagyaya Yo Dharma Sthapana Rato Viresham Tam Namamyaham. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.